When I wake up in the morning, I look out my window and I see a cat walking across the fence, waiting until my dog goes to pounce on it. And it doesn't always end well. Sometimes it gets pinned up against the fence. And I see fields and building works at the moment. It's around 7 o'clock every single morning. Dara, what do you see when you look out the window?
I see the other halls of residence.
Are you actually up in the mornings?
It's 5:30 this morning.
Well, these 3 brothers, when they looked out the window, they should have seen a beautiful lake with clear waters, beautiful sand. Every now and then they see a beautiful woman sunbathing on them. There were 3 brothers and they always tried their best lines on them. The oldest brother, the most mature brother, goes for the sweet lines and go up to them and say, "Excuse me, can I borrow your phone? Just, my mum told me to tell her that I fell in love." Which is a bit cringy, really. The second brother was very cheeky, and he'd go up to them and be, my watch tells me when people aren't wearing any underwear, and it's directing to you. They'd go, "No, I am. Must be now fast." Didn't work either. And the youngest brother, he was quite mature, and he goes for quite embarrassing lines. "If you were a booger, I'd pick you." None of them worked, I'm glad to say. And they would have seen this, and they would have always got the most beautiful women, but they had 3 ginormous trees that stood in their way. And one day they decided, "No, I cannot deal with this." And they cut down these 3 trees. But the 3 trees all wanted to become something. And first tree, it wanted to hold riches. It wanted to be able to store them, keep them safe. So maybe a jewellery box or something that, could keep them safe. And then the second tree wanted to transport kings. It wanted to be a boat or a ship that could go across the seas, transport from one place to another. And the third tree roasted, and he said that he was the most beautiful tree. Trees could be beautiful, obviously. And he wanted to become a sculptor or something magnificent that could show off to the world. And the first brother had the first tree. And he was the richest of the brothers. He was the oldest and had the most time to make the money. And the tree was strong. It's quite bushy. It's quite similar to the first brother, actually. It had a big, bushy top to it. Like the first brother had a big, bushy beard. Hair a bit like Des as well. And it worked. And, he did make it into something that held things, but it was a trough. So it held pig food. So it wasn't quite what the first tree wanted to become. Now the second brother made the second tree into a boat, just like he wanted to. And it was great, but this boat was a fishing boat. And the boat, even though it was strong, it wasn't what it aimed to be in life. And obviously this upset the second tree very much. But he knew that he was going to be, work well, and it was fine. He still got to go across the river and the lakes and the seas, but not so much the seas. And the third tree was cut down by the third brother, who was the youngest brother. But this brother didn't want the tree for making anything. He wanted to sell it on. He wanted to get some new clothes, maybe. And once he'd sold it, no one really knew what happened to this tree. The third brother went out and bought a new shirt, funny enough, and he went back out and went to the beach. He went to the first beautiful woman he saw and he goes, "Excuse me, would you like to feel my shirt?" Yeah, that's boyfriend material. sorry, that's coming out. But it worked. And he got himself a fantastic girlfriend. Fantastic. But let's not go back. But one night, all 3 things had been put into stories. They'd been left to dry out, and years later, all the brothers had sadly passed away. But first tree, which had made into the trough, was pulled out of the store, and it was filled with blankets and cushions, and a baby was placed inside it. And even though the first tree knew that he wasn't holding riches. He knew he was holding a king, and he knew that he'd done just what he wanted to be able to do in his life. He was happy. It was fine. Then, a few years later, the boat, the sapling tree, was brought out of storage, and this boy, who's now about 10, the same boy that was placed in the trough, got on this boat and he sailed across the waters, which were not as they usually were. They were rough, they were awful, and if it was anyone else in the boat, we don't think they would have made it to the other side. The waves crashed down, almost breaking the boat in half, but sailed across. He got across safely. That's all okay. Then, a few years later on, years after that, the young boy had been placed in the trough. The young man who sailed across the water was now a fully grown man. And he took a third tree, shaped as a cross, placed it over his shoulder, walked up to the highest hill, and was left there, nailed to it.